So I've shown a few of the books that look at individual buildings, individual churches, and look at the history, the architecture, the artworks that are included within them. What we also have in the collection are a number of works that look at the church as a type of building, what the building of the church would mean and how it was used and how it could be planned. How it could be part of kind of the community life. And one of the books that looks at that aspect is this one here, which I initially pulled out just because I very much like the title, The Village Church in the Olden Time, which is quite sweet. But this is a book that's, it was written by Harry Gill. Harry Gill was a very well-renowned architect, Nottingham architect. He was born in 1858. He lived until 1925. His son, Harry Percival Gill, was also an architect, and he designed and built a number of different types of buildings. There are some of his buildings still extant within Nottingham. So in the late 19th century and into the early 20th century, he built both domestic houses, including, for instance, houses on Station Road in Beeston, and he built churches. He was particularly interested in ecclesiastical architecture, and he designed the Ripley Methodist Church, for instance, the Congregational Church in Hyson Green. Both of those were churches that Harry Gill designed, and he also taught architecture, and so some of his pupils went on to also have very prestigious architectural careers. So this particular book is a rather nice book. It's got a nice cover. This is from the James Ward collection again, and as you can see, has an inscription on the flyleaf from Harry Gill presenting the book to James Ward in 1903. This is the second edition of this work. The first edition was published in 1901. 1903 was the second edition, and it's a work which it describes churches. It describes how churches fit into society, and it looks at the architecture of churches and of everything associated with churches. It's a very nicely produced book. It's on this sort of glossy art paper, and it's full of illustrations, some of which are certainly photographs, some of which are line drawings, some of which look a bit like photographs that have been touched up, which they may well be. So there are a lot of illustrations through it, and descriptions of different types of the church, of church fixtures and fittings, different types of architecture, and, as I say, information about how the churches were used. It's just a rather nice book to have, and the information within it is interesting, particularly coming from the standpoint of an architect who has been practically designing and creating churches for use. As with many of James Ward's books, it has been rebound with extra pages in the backs if he wanted to add notes. On this one, he doesn't seem to have done so, but that's a very common thing from James Ward. His collection has a lot of these things that have got extra pages in for him if he wanted to stick things in. This is just a rather nice little book with a very cute name, which includes quite a lot of interesting information.